Patiently awaiting the results of the 2020 election, and a visitor on campus sparked quite the protest last night. And Oklahoma isn't the only state experiencing record high COVID cases. This is OU Nightly. Hello, thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Kayla Davis.
And I'm Chloe Sparks. Tonight we begin with the latest on the presidential election. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden takes the lead as his numbers in battleground states continue to increase. But President Donald Trump won't go down without a fight, making it clear that he will contest the election. CNN's Camilla Bernal has the latest from Wilmington, Delaware.
White House is nearing the finish line. As the number of uncounted ballots has dwindled, Democratic nominee Joe Biden is within striking distance of the 270 electoral votes needed to take the presidency. Now leading in the critical battleground state of Pennsylvania, while protests continue on both sides.
We the people know what's going on in this country. We know that this is a plot. This is a coup against President Trump.
Trump's team made it clear they will contest the election. In a statement Friday, Trump saying, "We will pursue this process through every aspect of the law to guarantee the American people have confidence in our government. I will never give up fighting for you and our nation." Meanwhile, Biden's campaign said this: "The American people will decide this election, and the United States government is perfectly capable of escorting trespassers out of the White House." Also today, the vote counts continue in key states, delayed by a record flood of mail-in ballots.
While some, including the president, continue to spew baseless claims of fraud, claims for which his team has not produced one iota of evidence, what we have seen here in Philadelphia is democracy, pure and simple.
In Wilmington, Delaware, I'm Camilla Bernal reporting.
Late this afternoon, Georgia's Secretary of State said the race remains too close to call in Georgia. He also says the margin is so narrow that a recount will most likely be necessary.
And Ann Coulter spoke on campus last night thanks to the OU chapter of Turning Point USA. Coulter is a Republican author and news personality who is mainly known for her conservative views. She covered topics including the election, immigration, and the economy. Even though she was very conservative views, her view on the president isn't what you'd expect. Earlier on, Coulter said President Trump would be a great spokesperson for the Republican Party.
And Kayla, her appearance actually sparked a protest on campus last night. OU Nightly's Will Blessing has our team coverage from the events that took place.
Outside of the union, a protest is forming against the appearance of Ann Coulter tonight.
I'm here for women's equality, for racial equality, for LGBTQ plus equality. She is actively quoted saying things that are against that.
It's not that I don't like her, it's that I do not feel safe with her being here.
The protest started at 6:30 outside the union and moved inside. The members of the protest said that one of the main reasons they were there was because they believed Ann Coulter does not represent the values of the university and that they believe Turning Point USA should not have invited her to campus.
I think Ann Coulter shouldn't be here. I mean, there's a difference between free speech and hate speech, and I think all she advocates for is hate speech, and that doesn't belong on campus. I understand they have the right to have their free speech again, and they have the right to have their own opinions and everything, but we, at OU, we come here because we believe that it's supposed to be a diverse institution and we should all be here, united.
While the protest was ongoing, members of the Proud Boys, a white supremacist group, showed up at the union. They walked around the union before leaving, nothing was said, and no violent altercations happened. This ended the protest, with protesters leaving in groups. While the protest did end at the union, student sentiment does remain. Will Blessing, OU Nightly.
The protest ended around 8:30 and no injuries were reported.
And another day of incredibly high numbers when it comes to COVID cases in Oklahoma. The health department reports 1,878 new COVID cases today with 16 new deaths. This brings the total amount of deaths in the state to 1,429. The state also has 1,025 people hospitalized today. With hospitals in Tier 3 of COVID surge plan, OU Hospital has opened the 6th floor of its new medical tower several weeks early. This opens more ICU beds, and the rest of the tower plans to open Monday.
And Oklahoma is not alone in its rising number of COVID cases. We are just one of many states seeing a record of number of cases. Nationwide, we're seeing a new daily coronavirus case record. According to data by Johns Hopkins University, the country reported more than 121,000 cases. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker issued new COVID-19 restrictions today that included a stay-at-home order for some areas of that state.
Since Labor Day, new cases have increased by about 300%, and over the same time period, hospitalizations for COVID-19 have increased by about 145%. This is a worrisome trend. I think we all understand that. Our biggest concern, of course, is the hospitals risk getting overwhelmed.
Several countries in Europe are also seeing COVID spikes. The United Kingdom put a stay-at-home order in place this week.
And in this crazy year we've been living, it almost seems normal to have tropical storms in November. But is this hurricane season going to ever end? Nash Rhodes is here to tell us.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it has been an above average hurricane season, and we are nowhere near the end as we now have Eta. This is a tropical depression off the eastern coastline of Mexico. It recently made landfall days prior as a very strong Category 4 hurricane. It's re-entered the Atlantic, and unfortunately for us, the latest National Hurricane Center outlook does have that forecast cone entering into portions of Cuba this weekend as a tropical storm. So we are expecting Eta to strengthen into a tropical storm, possibly skimming the southern coastline of Florida before eventually curling back into the Gulf of Mexico. As we get more information on that, we'll keep you updated right here on OU Nightly. But coming up on Maine Weather, I'll have a forecast for this weekend's game. Guys?
Thank you, Nash. And the Electoral College map is looking extra blue as of this morning.
And Joe Biden plans to share his thoughts with the American people.
And another reason to stay alert, even at your local convenience store.
Stick around to hear more about the machete-wielding suspect in California. As election tensions continue to rise, former Vice President Joe Biden prepares for the results at any moment. Jessie Klinger has that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the world. Jessie.
Thanks, Kayla. Plans are currently underway for Joe Biden to give a primetime address this evening. The campaign has not provided further details in regards to the nature of the address, but he will deliver what aides believe to be a victory speech. Running mate Kamala Harris is also expected to deliver remarks tonight ahead of Biden, according to a campaign aide. This will be the first time we hear from the vice president hopeful since Election Day. In Roseville, California, authorities are searching for a machete-wielding suspect who threatened to attack a store clerk at the neighborhood Stop and Shop. Surveillance footage shows the man getting aggressive, then pulling a machete out of his pants. The suspect then begins attacking the plexiglass shield, which prevented the employee from serious injury. The suspect is known and wanted for questioning about this crime and others. Russian lawmakers submitted a draft bill that could grant President Putin and other former Russian presidents lifelong immunity from criminal prosecution beyond their terms in office. Under current Russian law, presidents cannot be prosecuted for crimes committed while in office, and the proposed change seeks to extend the immunity. The bill was submitted by a parliamentary group that addressed Putin's controversial constitutional amendments earlier this year. And evacuations have begun as Indonesia's most active volcano increases in volcanic activity. Locals prepare for the worst as experts say Mount Merapi could erupt at any time. That's all I have today. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Jessie. And despite the debate of starting Christmas celebrations before Thanksgiving, it's Christmas in November for Chicago.
That's right, even one of America's largest cities agrees it's never too early or too late for a Christmas tree.
That's right, and Nash has a quick look at our weather forecast.
Right, looking nice in Norman right now, but that could change coming up next week. I'll let you know where and when, coming right around the corner. Welcome back to OU Nightly on what has been a beautiful Friday afternoon across the state as we take a look at our live Skyline Tower camera here at Oklahoma City. Hardly any clouds out there right now. Earlier this afternoon, we had several. Now only about one cumulus cloud off in the distance, and typically those signify fair weather, and that is absolutely what we have seen for the most part. Temperatures in the mid-70s right now, 73 degrees here in the city, with those dew points now climbing into the upper 50s, and coupled with those strong winds out of the south, you might start to feel a little bit of that humidity, especially into tomorrow. But currently, we are in the mid-70s here in the metro. Not the case further to the northwest, especially out in the panhandle, as high as 80 degrees in Guyman right now. A completely different story from what we're seeing here in Norman and Oklahoma City. Tonight, though, we all drop into the 50s and 40s, still a little bit above that average low of 44 degrees. So if you're planning on heading out tonight, these lows coupled with those winds might make it feel a little bit chilly. Make sure you bring a jacket. But the good news is you can shed that jacket tomorrow afternoon as we get even warmer for our highs, climbing up into the mid to upper 70s, 76 degrees for a high here in Oklahoma City. And again, many of us seeing temperatures in the upper 70s, possibly even hitting that 80-degree mark further to the west. Now, we do see some cloud cover building overnight tonight into tomorrow afternoon. The good news is not seeing any rain tomorrow afternoon for the game. We are going to continue to see on and off cloud cover, though, into Sunday. But I want you to pay attention to these strong winds now surging out of the south. We could see wind gusts as strong as 32, 35 miles per hour with some of these gusts in western Oklahoma. So keep that in mind for your Sunday afternoon plans. And then our next weather maker makes its way into the state starting Monday afternoon into the evening and overnight hours on Monday. That's going to be our best chance of rain as a very weak cold front rolls through. It could still drop our temperatures by just a few degrees. Looking at that 7-day forecast one last time, we will be in the mid-70s for Saturday and Sunday before rain chances kick back in Monday night into early Tuesday morning. Guys?
Thanks, Nash. Okay, now Chloe, do you put your Christmas tree up before or after Thanksgiving?
Well, actually, I just took it down in August, but Chicago just picked out their 107th annual Christmas tree. You got to see this.
The 45-foot blue spruce donated to the Windy City was chosen out of one of the 50 trees. Due to COVID-19, the annual lighting ceremony will be virtual this year.
The tree is scheduled to be set up on Monday.
And, well, Sooner football is finally back in town.
Thank goodness. Norman has been a little too quiet lately. Next up, our Big Friday sports team will be breaking down Saturday's game and more.
You're exactly right, you guys. Today on Big Friday Sports, we're talking NFL Week 9, and we'll have a preview of our golf team. But first, a little birdie told me the Jayhawks are in town. We'll break down who will be a key guy in tomorrow's matchup next.
Hello and welcome. It's Friday afternoon, approximately 4:48, and that means it's time for Big Friday Sports. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dylan Rivera.
And I'm Sofia Olivas. Last Saturday saw a Halloween massacre in Lubbock as the Sooners ripped apart the Red Raiders.
The way Oklahoma looks should definitely spook teams around the Big 12, and even more specifically, Ronnie Perkins being back should strike fear in upcoming opponents.
The junior defensive end returned against Tech and only had 4 tackles, but everyone knows what he's capable of. Earlier this week, Perkins detailed how he stayed sharp throughout his suspension.
For the last few weeks, I was just focused on coming into practice and helping this team however I could. And no matter if it was scout team, no matter if it was trying to coach up the young guys. So I was just engaged the whole week in practice to try to get the team best prepared for Saturday as I could.
You don't usually get a guy of that caliber on scout team for as long as he was. So that was really good for our O-line. You know, it definitely helped us out in the long run, you know, growing, learning how to block these, you know, really talented guys like that. He was really impressive for us.
He's been working extremely hard since, you know, the end of last year. Like I said, he was on defensive scout team, giving a look for the offense. So, you know, he was going against Ely, Swinson, Antoine, you know, those guys every single day. So, you know, he's getting, you know, a one-on good versus good look every single day.
And coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., you can catch Game Day U on OU TV or on Facebook Live. Our analysts break down everything from which Big 12 coach could be fired, who goes first in the NFL draft, and what to expect from the Kansas Jayhawks tomorrow afternoon.
And around the Big 12, we've got Country Roads taking us home as West Virginia visits Texas at 11 on ABC. And keeping it in the Texas family, Tech travels to Fort Worth to take on TCU at 2:30 on FS1.
Mullet Mike and the Oklahoma State Cowboys travel to the Little Apple of Manhattan, Kansas to take on the K-State Wildcats at 3 p.m. on Fox. And the Iowa State Cyclones will host the Baylor Bears with that contest set to kick off at 6 p.m.
Okay, now Dylan, there has been a lot of racket about our tennis teams, and I'm happy to report that both are playing this weekend.
The women head to Stillwater to compete in the Fall Series Championships, and the men, we see them head to the Big Six Fall Invitational in Fort Worth.
And with 3 games left in the season, OU women's soccer is in Waco to take on the Lady Bears. The 0-5-1 Sooners look for their first win after losing 4 straight. Kickoff is at 5 p.m. on ESPN+.
After the break, Nash Rhodes will have a quick look at your game day forecast.
And it looks like Forrest Gump may have a little bit of competition. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Big Friday Sports. For those of you planning on going to the game tomorrow, I have nothing but good news. Temperatures will be in the mid to lower 70s throughout much of the game with partly cloudy skies and really no chance of rain to speak of. One thing I do want to direct your attention to, though, are these wind speeds. Look at this, 15 to 25 mile per hour winds throughout the afternoon. That could play an impact on the game, especially if you're kicking into the south. So keep that in mind for tomorrow. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Nash. Next up, we take it to the links where Shannon Ehrhardt gives us an inside look at one of the top guys on the men's golf team.
Becoming a professional is something every young athlete dreams of, but the process to get there can be as hard as finding a needle in a haystack. For golf, becoming a pro comes down to the intricacy of every single shot, so one slip up can lead to a break in a golfer's play.
It's all about how small your misses are in golf. Like the pros, their bad shots are still pretty good, where, you know, you're stepping down onto the other tours or stepping down on the college level, you know, you might have, you know, you miss a green, but on the PJ Tour, you know, a bad shot, they're still hitting the green and stuff like that. So it's all about the misses.
Opportunities to reach the elite level as a pro golfer don't come as often as other sports. So for Quade Cummins, giving 100% effort each time is out of the question.
Coach always says, you know, you play good, you get paid good. So, I mean, if you play good, you get the press, you get the interviews, you get the TV time and all that stuff. And it's the same in college golf. And if you're sitting at home, you don't get any of that. And then if you don't play good in the tournament, you don't get any of that. So you have to do a lot of things to get out there.
Playing 4+ hours of golf at a time gets overwhelming, but what Cummins has learned comes from a strong positive mentality and taking one shot at a time.
I don't really focus on being focused. I just you have to stay in the present. You can't really get too far ahead of yourself in golf, because then you start thinking about, you know, different outcomes and stuff like that when you're not really in the present.
And even on the brink of becoming a pro, those feelings that every golfer experiences are still present.
Nerves will be there. It doesn't matter if you have, you know, putt that you need to make or something like that, or if it's a hard hole. I mean, I probably get nervous on the golf course probably at least 10 times around. So it's kind of, I'm used to it, but it's still kind of, you know, uncomfortable.
In every sport, the key to success is practicing how you play, but staying on edge and in the moment may just be what leads Cummins to that pro level.
Like, I'm more scared of not being good, so that's why I practice. Like, that's what I think about. Like, I'm you know, if I'm like laying in bed on like in an afternoon, and then it'll just like pop into my mind, it's just like, you know, somebody's out there doing all this stuff, and like it scares me that I'm not going to be as good. So then like I go practice and all that stuff.
But this fear leads to motivation and is the reason why Cummins never quit on his dream of reaching that elite level. Shannon Ehrhardt, OU Nightly.
Thank you, Shannon. Cheeseheads across the country had a lot to celebrate last night after a 34-17 thrashing of the reigning NFC champion San Francisco 49ers.
Aaron Rodgers put up a ridiculous 305 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Devontae Adams accounted for 173 of those yards himself.
For the Niners, Richie James's 184 receiving yards and touchdown catch weren't enough to slow down the green and gold.
Well, it is NFL Week 9, and we have 13 more games on deck for this weekend.
There are plenty of games to choose from, but I'm curious about your pick.
Well, my game to watch features Tua and the Dolphins as they head west to take on Kyler and the Cardinals. This QB1 Orange Bowl matchup sees Miami going head-to-head against the league's #1 offense in total yardage in Arizona. The keys to win: for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray has to have big plays in the air, and Kenyon Drake needs to rack up those rushing yards. For the Dolphins, the O-line must protect Tua Tagovailoa, and that defense needs to keep the Arizona offense contained.
Not taking the Steelers this time, huh?
No.
My game to watch for this week: Indianapolis and Baltimore. Both teams come into the contest at 5-2. The Colts 3-0 at home and the Ravens 3-0 on the road. I expect a low-scoring game as the two sides make up 2 of the best 3 defenses in the NFL. The AFC opponents kick off at noon from Lucas Oil Stadium.
And well, Alex Cora is back in baseball, returning as the Boston Red Sox manager.
Cora's year-long suspension for his involvement in the 2017 Astros cheating scandal was just lifted.
He spent the 2018 and 19 seasons as the Red Sox skipper after acting as an assistant in Houston.
And there's a new viral pint-sized prodigy who could absolutely take me in some pong.
Check out this 3-year-old taking the internet by storm. All great athletes start somewhere, and this tiny ping pong player is no different.
According to his family, the boy has been practicing since he was an infant, and he's had some help. His grandmother is a former professional table tennis player.
And if all goes well, I think we'll be seeing this ping pong phenom in the Olympics one day.
I've got a pretty good serve, but I'm not real good at ping pong.
You're not good at the back and forth?
No, not too much. Thank you for joining us here for OU Nightly and Big Friday Sports. Be sure to watch Game Day U tomorrow morning for a full preview of OU's game against the Kansas Jayhawks.
For Dylan Rivera and the whole crew, I'm Sofia Olivas. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week.